Hi, I'm Matt Moore, and welcome to this week's Closing the Distance. On today's show, it's a good one. We're going to share with you all the ins and outs of how to find that perfect outfitter. We have a lot of tips and a lot of information that we're going to share with you. And we're going to give you some information on some new trends that are going on in the industry. Let's get started.
Closing the Distance is brought to you by Ozonics. Undetectable, undeniable. Hunter Safety System, dedicated to saving hunters' lives. Executioner Broadhead, born to kill. Treason, don't just blend, become. And by Citadel, revolutionary shoot-down shape. Coming up, we'll help answer all your questions on how to find an outfitter. We'll be right back. Closing the Distance is made possible by Tree Limb Quivers. There's only one tree limb quiver. Sword sights, sharp solutions in aiming. Elusive Wildlife Technologies, taking the elusive out of wildlife. The Stage Deer Attractant, finally, a synthetic scent that works. Matthews Archery. And by the amazing Luminaut. Can your aeronaut do this?
Welcome back to Closing the Distance. On today's show, I wanted to give you information on how to find that perfect place to hunt, how to book a hunt, how to find an outfitter. We get a lot of questions from the viewers about how to find that ground, and I always respond and I ask you, what are you looking for? I mean, where are you trying to go? What kind of deer are you trying to kill? And on this first hunt that I want to show you, it's middle December, and one of my pro staff guys, Freddie Lovell, he had booked a hunt with Burley Outfitters. Freddie had called me and wanted to know if I had time to go out with him and run camera. Let's check in with Freddie.
Me and Matt drove out here to West Texas today, and we got it's probably upper 70 degrees today, but going to be 19 in the morning. Probably the biggest cold front of the year coming in, mid-December. And we're out here with Burley Outfitters, and Jared, he's busy with some bird hunters, so he just he turned us loose. We're driving into the pasture out. He kind of gave us a rough idea, and we're just checking trail cameras right now, just to see what's coming in at some of the feeders, and they got some different bait stations around. Try to figure out a spot to set up a pop-up. You know, we're used to getting up in a tree, and this is different country out here. You know, it's low brush, so we've got a couple pop-ups that we'll brush in real good once we figure out where we want to put them and anchor them down good, because we're probably looking at 25-30 mile-an-hour winds. Conditions may be tough, but we're here. We're going to give it fits and see if we can't find us a good shooter deer.
Burley Outfitters, they're a rather large outfitter. They have a lot of ground in several counties across West Texas, North Texas. And on this piece of property that we were on, I believe they said it was a 10,000 acre tract, 12,000 acre tract, a big block of land, big contiguous block of land. And what they'd done with us, they had showed us around, showed us some blinds they had set up, and they showed us some areas that they had been baiting in deer with corn and alfalfa. And they turned us loose, which is what I liked. And they let us check all our game cameras. And we went around and spent 2 or 3 hours driving around, looking at cards, going through a lot of pictures, trying to find a shooter buck. And what I noticed right off the bat is there are very few pictures of mature deer. And when you're going with an outfitter, you need a place that your odds are in your favor. And on this particular tract of land, there wasn't a huntable population of mature deer. We were seeing on pictures some 2 and 3 year old 8 points and 10 points, but we finally settled into setting up a stand at a spot that there was the only really mature buck that was on game camera. He was a nice frame deer, probably high 30s, maybe low 40s. And the spot that we were set up at is really typical for West Texas. There's a lot of oil and gas in the area, and it seemed like to me there was an old maybe a pump station office or a satellite office for some oil well workers that had been there in the old barn, and which is pretty common, cattle lots. And what we did, we set up a ground blind that was really right next to, or it actually hooked up to a cattle pen, and we tied the blind there, and they had been feeding alfalfa at this spot. And alfalfa, which I really like, is the perfect bait pile. It's good for the deer, and especially out in places where, you know, late winter like that, to where the browse is gone. So the deer were going to really come into the alfalfa, and we were going to get ready for the hunt.
Well, I think our cold front just hit. It is howling, dust, dirt flying, and we're hoping our pop-up stays grounded. It may go for a ride.
That first afternoon, a huge storm was blowing in. It was so windy, and it was really cool to see the front moving in so fast. When we got in the blind, it was probably in the mid-70s. But by the time we got out of the blind and we had to leave before it got dark, it was just so windy. You just couldn't sit there. And the temperature went from the mid-70s to about 36 degrees in about 20 minutes. I've never had experienced that kind of cold weather move in so fast. And to see the dust storm was pretty cool. The next morning, Freddie and I got in the blind, and it was really, really cold. We had 2 heaters running in the ground blind. I think the temperature might have been 13, 14, 15 degrees, and that's really cold for Texas, especially with the wind blowing. And we started seeing some deer, some does that came in, some small bucks, and they were coming to the corn, coming to the bait pile, the alfalfa that we had out. And there just wasn't any mature bucks here. We hunted for a couple days, but that's common to go with an outfitter. We always have dreams of killing big deer and seeing big deer, but a lot of those places, even with outfitters, are few and far between, but you really have to go to see what it's about. And it's nothing really against Burley Outfitters. They told us this was a new tract of land that they had got, and wasn't really sure what they was gonna do with it. This was a perfect tract of land to really keep and hold on to and build up the deer population and get these deer in an upper age class, because the genetics out here in this part of Texas, they're not over the top. Mature deer, they're gonna be 135, 145, but occasionally on this ground, you'll have a big deer just like everywhere else, but the deer numbers can be there. To me, this tract of land had been shot out in the past. The deer numbers were lower. There wasn't very few, if any, mature bucks on this ground. But that's part of going with an outfitter. You just do not know. I know Burley Outfitters has a reputation of killing some really big mule deer up in North Texas. And what I learned on this place, I'm not a quail hunter. I just don't have time to. But here, this place was wrapped up in quail. If you love quail, if you like bird hunting, like letting your dogs work, you might want to check out with Burley. They have a lot of ground that has quail. And that's something that you learn going with another outfitter. You get to see a lot of different animals. You may see a place that has a lot of hogs or javelinas and go in different places to hunt. But the point is, you don't know till you go.
After the break, questions to ask outfitters before booking that hunt. Later on, more tips from our staff to help you find better ground. We'll be right back. Get a head start on your next trophy buck. Order stand placement advanced techniques today at Closing the Distance. Closing the Distance is brought to you by Ozonics, undetectable, undeniable. Hunter Safety System, dedicated to saving hunters' lives. Executioner Broadheads, born to kill. Treason, don't just blend, become. And by Citadel, revolutionary shoot-down shape.
Freddie and I stayed at Burley Outfitters for just 3 days. It was just a really short hunt, and we saw deer. It was really cold while we were there, which is a negative for coming to Texas and hunt, because Texas is warm climate, and when it gets cold here, normally the deer just hunker down and conserve energy. So we were faced with that issue, which wasn't an outfitter problem. It was just a weather-related problem. And the food, it was awesome. Had a lot of food to eat. It was all good. The meals were awesome. The place to stay, which is typical for a lot of places you hunt in Texas, old big ranches with old ranch houses were just bunk beds and bathrooms. But we were fine. And that's something you may want to look into if the accommodations are a big part of you booking a hunt. Ask those questions. But some of the questions that I have wrote down for you to ask when you on the phone with an outfitter or through email or text message, treat it like an interview. Treat it like you're the boss and you're trying to hire an employee. One of the first questions that I like to ask an outfitter is, how much ground do you actually hunt? How much of it, how many acres do you have? How much of it is contiguous? what's in timber, what's in cropland. Because you may have an outfitter that tells you that they have 40,000 acres or 50,000 acres of land, especially in the Midwest. And with crop country, they may only be 15 or 20% of that ground is actually huntable. You have to ask these questions because outfitters like to blow things out of proportion sometimes. Remember, it is a business. They're trying to get your money to hunt with them, and they want to make things larger than it seems. But in Texas, a lot of times that's right the opposite. If you talk to an outfitter in Texas that has 15,000 acres, or they book 40,000 acres or 50,000 acres, that's usually a lot of huntable ground. Obviously, there is farm country here with big wheat fields, but Texas there's more ground to actually hunt. But ask those questions about how many acres do you have? Another question that I like to ask is pretty simple. How many hunters do you book a year? How many bow hunters do you run? How many gun hunters do you run? And it's pretty simple. You can kind of do the math. I also like to ask, what's the hunting pressure like around your ground? If an outfitter tells you there's not much hunting pressure around the ground, well, first of all, you can think, well, the ground's not any good if there's not any hunting pressure around it, or they're just lying to you. Because if they're on good ground, there will be other hunters in the area. Besides maybe some spots like Texas, if you're hunting a 10 or 15 or 20,000 acre contiguous piece of property, it's so big, who cares if there's hunting pressure around you? These big tracts of land have their own huntable population of deer. But if you're with an outfitter that has small blocks of land that's not contiguous, that's when that issue comes up. If you got hunting pressure around these 15, 60 acre blocks or 300 acre blocks, that should be a red flag for you. Also, a good tip is, and we love to do this already, but look at every game camera, look at all the SD cards that you can to kind of get an inventory of the deer in the area. Look at all of them. If an outfitter keeps showing you a bunch of buck pictures and the date and times are wrong on the card, especially the dates, and the outfitter tells you that they're wrong, it's a safe bet that he's lying to you. These deer probably have already been killed, or he's pulling old pictures from the past. He's trying to motivate you to let you know that he has a lot of deer. Just keep that in mind if an outfitter is kind of wishy-washy about his trail cameras. And usually 100% of the time, no matter where we go and book a hunt, an outfitter will take us to a spot that tells us this is the secret spot. This is a spot that we haven't shown anybody before. This is a tract of land that there's not any hunting pressure. Outfitters will always have that spot, right, they stuck up their sleeve, that they can pull out and take you to motivate you, to make you feel like this is where the hot spot is. And outfitters tell you about that, and they have some small areas. Be aware, they're lying to you. A lot of this stuff I'm telling you, sometimes it may be on the negative side, but it's not all negative. I have booked hunts and had tremendous success. I have booked hunts and had some of the worst hunts of my life. But in all reality, it all evens out. I'm just letting you know about some of this information that it's not always what it's cracked up to be. There's always a hunt that goes better than what I expect. I'm just giving you this information so you do your homework. Just don't go out and spend money without asking all these questions and without keeping an open mind.
When we return, our staff guys offer more tips for success when booking hunts. We'll be right back. Closing the Distance is made possible by Tree Limb Quivers. There's only one tree limb quiver. Sword Sight, sharp solutions in aiming. Elusive Wildlife Technologies, taking the elusive out of wildlife. The Stage Deer Attractant, finally, a synthetic scent that works. Matthews Archery. And by the amazing Luminaut. Can your aeronaut do this?
On today's show, we're giving you all the ins and outs on how to find that perfect outfitter. Sometimes just booking a hunt is more than just killing a deer. Sometimes it turns into a family vacation.
A lot of people, when they think of going on vacation, they think of the beach or going to Six Flags or skiing, but started about 6 years ago. My family, we kind of wanted to go do something different. We love hunting. We went to an exotic hunt in the hill country here in Texas, and it was something that we never experienced before, but turned out to be one of the greatest times we ever had together. We shot some exotics that we'd never seen before, had a great time. And the next year we wanted to do the same thing, and we started over, wanted to kind of see a different area, so we went to a different place and took a different exotic and we were hooked from then. You know, I honestly, I didn't come for all dad, but when you come on these exotic hunts like this, you know, you're going to see some beautiful animals. And sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. We were actually, after a mouflon, couldn't see them, switched to an axis, couldn't get a shot at an axis. And this joker came in, and seeing his chaps and everything, I mean, it's just a beautiful animal, and I'm tickled to death with them. So I can't say enough about Matthew's bow, executioner broadheads. I mean, like you say, he didn't run 30, 40 yards, and this is a solid animal. So I'm tickled to death, man. When we kind of made it our deal where every year we wanted to do this together as a family and go somewhere. And my dad, he does all the research and asking the questions and finding the places. Since then, we've been to Illinois, where I was able to shoot a 157. My mom, she shot a nice deer, I think scored almost in the 190s. As far as my dad, I think his scored 187. We've also been to South Texas a couple of times, West Texas. A lot of people are scared. We were scared, you know, to officially make a commitment to somebody or an outfitter, but there's a lot more that are better than there is the worst. We've only been on maybe one or two that we could think of that weren't really great, and we've been on probably 7 or 8 that were awesome. And it's fun, and I encourage anybody that is thinking about it to give it a try. I mean, it's something you can do with your family, and any day hunting is a good day to me. Even if it's a bad place, it was still fun. But you kind of learn what to ask for the next time or what to do the next time. And I just encourage anybody that's thinking about it to give it a try.
A new trend that I'm seeing in the hunting industry is where outfitters do a turnkey sublease on a piece of property, where they have clients that come in, instead of wanting to hunt a 4 or 5 day hunt, they're wanting a piece of property that they can call their own, that they can help manage themselves. Let's check in with one of my pro staffers, Chris Friday. Chris gives us these details.
You know, aside from a standard outfitter, what we found is that we've been able to sublease some turnkey operations here in North Louisiana. Got into that business by accident. Actually, I had a piece of property that I was moving off of and went to move some box stands off of it and wound up wrecking 2 out of the 3 box stands. So I said, you know what, that'll never happen to me again. I'll just sublease a piece of property. And so I subleased that ground, and man, people started getting in contact with me wanting an identical setup. And so what I found was that some folks don't have the resources or the time to be able to develop a piece of property, but they have the cash flow to be able to pay for a turnkey operation, so that 2 weeks before season they can go put their cameras out, come out with their family, and be able to hunt. So since then, I guess I've subleased roughly 30 properties on my own, and they've been a success for us and everything. It's been a fit. Now, that's not an outfitter type deal where you come out and you've got a 4-day window. This is a situation where it's yours for the season, basically. And so you come out and you enjoy the property, you enjoy all that the outdoors has to offer, and at the end of the day, you're not really responsible for the upkeep associated with it. It is a premium price, but like I said, at the end of the day, those guys have the cash reserves, they just don't have the time or the equipment to be able to take care of it. You know, if you want to know how to do this and everything, the quickest route I found is to get in touch with an outfitter in a particular area of interest and everything, and just be upfront with them and let them know, I'm not looking for a 4-day hunt. I'm not looking to put a tag on just any deer. I'm looking to be able to get a piece of property of my own so I can hunt it exclusively and hold out for the best that property has to offer. That gives you the ability to pass on deer that you maybe normally wouldn't pass on an outfitted type hunt, but it gives you a piece of property to call your own, to manage your own, and to do the things that you enjoy doing, and you never can tell when you might not look up and have that buck of a lifetime come across.
A lot of great tips on today's show. Choosing an outfitter can be a really difficult decision. You have a limited amount of time. You're spending your hard-earned money. There's so many out there to choose from, but no matter what, I would encourage you to just take the leap. You may be missing out on some of the very best hunting that you've ever had in your entire life. But you know, it also got me thinking about kind of what I do, right? I pastor a church here in Alachua, Florida called Canvas Church. And there's so many people that I run into over the years that maybe they had a bad church experience, or maybe they've never been to church at all. And when they think about trying church or going to church, it can be a little bit of an intimidating situation because they think that church is the place where only people who have everything figured out go. And they know that they really don't have all their stuff together. Can I tell you that nothing could be further from the truth? Church is not the place that people go once they have it all figured out. That's not how it works. Church is the place you go when you know that there's things in your life that you need help with, and God welcomes you in so that you can have help and find peace in your life and hope in your life when you need it. And I would encourage you to get out there and try a church somewhere in your local area. There's a pastor that loves you, a church family that would love and embrace you, and you may be missing out on some of the most amazing experiences of your entire life. If you'd like to know more about a personal relationship with God through His Son, Jesus Christ, just go to closingthedistance.com and click on the Moment of Truth tab.
Want more from Closing the Distance? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram.